My name is Vito Trause. I was born in Carlson, New Jersey on July 19, 1925. I went to East Rutherford High School and I was drafted into the Army. 1943, I was going to high school and I got my discharge papers, and I either go to school or go to war, so I went to war. My brothers went to war. I have two brothers. There was Trip, the Adolf, or Sammy. One was in the Navy and one was in the Air Force. One went before me, then I was in the middle, then my other brother went in. So the day before, when I was in high school, I played my last football game on a Saturday. On a Thursday, I went in the Army.
Where'd you go?
I took a bus to Penn Station. Then from Penn Station, I went to Fort Dix in New Jersey. And after that, I went to Fort McClellan, Alabama. I had basic training infantry. My friends, there was a couple of them that were in high school at that time, and there's 8 of them. I played football with them, and they were going to go after I went because they were going to go. They stood in school and they played, but to this day, all of them passed away already. Mostly all the pictures that I got with people, I got a picture there that's 3/4 are gone, but all those 8 guys are missing. After Fort Dix, I went to Fort McClellan, Alabama. In Alabama, I had 17 weeks of basic training, and I went overseas, and as we went to the North Atlantic, they had submarines and stuff like that. We was in convoy, had about maybe 500 ships go across, and some of them got sunk in that, but three-quarters of the way over there, they announced that we were going to go to Africa. Now, Africa, years ago, we didn't have no television or anything. And Africa was like in the movies, and you thought Tarzan and everything like that. So when I was going over there, I was 18 years old. I didn't know too much because the school didn't teach it too much at that time. And I found out, I thought I was going to see Tarzan and apes and everything. When I got there, it was only a modern city too. And I was fooled by that. Then I stood there for 2 weeks for mountain training. Then I got on another ship, an English ship. I went to Naples. And in Naples, when I went there, before I went there, I had 3 fellas, myself, Silvio Tavallaro, and Petey Rasmus. The fella on the left, he got killed in the tank in France. He was 18 years old, and they named the field in Carlstead, the Little League field. And if you were on in Carlstead, they had his name, Petey Rasmus. The other fella, he passed away. He was a friend of mine. I landed in Naples, Italy, and then I was a replacement and went right up to the front lines. I went to Monte Cassino and I went to Anzio, and I fought there. I went up the coast, but as I went up there, say about 3 weeks, and then I came back for rest. I went up again. I went up 5 times, and I got hit once or twice, you know, like it was shrapnel and that, but it wasn't it was minor. And then what happened was when I went up there, we went all the way up to Livorno, and then what happened, we moved over to the central part of Italy, and that was in Florence. And then in Florence, we went we were going to go to up the mountains up there, and I got captured by the Germans, SS troops. And the reason why I got captured on the SS troops, I was a scout, and me and another guy was a scout, and they let us go to the enemy lines, and then they had crossfire with machine guns, both sides. And then this was around 10 o'clock in the morning. Then all day long, they were throwing mortars and artillery, but we were protected by a house there. And then what happened after about 6 hours, all the guys got killed, and everything was, you know, everything was fouled up and everything. And then what happened, the Germans came in. They knew where we were, and me and this other guy got captured. But when we got captured, they interviewed one guy, and then they interviewed me. And then what happened, they were going to take us out. And I guess we were going to get shot because only 2 of us got captured. The rest got killed or disappeared, you know. And what happened, they were going to take us out, and all of a sudden a truck came by, and they said, they start talking, and what saved us, we got on the truck and they took us to Bologna. Now, when we got to Bologna, we stood there one day, and then they put us in boxcars. And we were going to go through the Brenner Pass to go to Germany. So there was, I don't know, about 12, 15 boxcars full of guys. And instead of having 40 guys in a boxcar, you used to have 60. They put barbed wire and they put bars by the windows, locked the doors, and the troops were around the train of that. So now the English used to strafe the trains. And what happened, they strafed our trains there, and a lot of guys got killed inside. So we had to stop the train. They stopped the trains. They all took off, the Germans, and they let us stay there. We couldn't get out, and a lot of guys got killed in there. And we had to take the guys that got killed out. And then we started. It took us 3 days and 3 nights to get from Bologna to Munich, outside of Munich, Stalag 7A. Now, when we got to Stalag 7A, some guys were sick and everything like that, you know. So some guys got crazy, like some guys. They were bad. And what happened, I was young. I was only 18 years old. And what happened was we got into a prison camp, and they were bombing Munich. So they put us on the railroad, another boxcars to take us to Munich. We were about 30 miles away from Munich with this Stalag 7A. They put us on boxcars. We went to work over there. We got up 5 o'clock in the morning. We didn't get back until 11 o'clock in the morning, and that used to be every day. And the only guys that worked there were the privates. No, if you had a corporal or anything, you could stay in the camp, the prison camp. They don't let you work. Only the privates worked. That's why I worked. I was a private. And what happened, they were bombing so much that instead of us coming back, they let us stay in Munich. So I stood there for 5 months. They stayed in Munich. And there's a book, Cigarettes for Bread, was written. And this guy who was a prisoner with me, he wrote a book. And he tells you some of the worst bombings they ever had over there. Hundreds of planes at one time used to bomb Munich and that. And even our building was hit. And a lot of POWs, American guys, were killed because they got a direct hit. We were fortunate that we never got hit. Well, our building was down and everything. And then while we were there, there was bodies out. There was things I hated to do, but I had to do it. Like bodies that were bombed, and we had to take them out of buildings. We had to put them on the wagon. And in the book, it tells you we worked sometimes about 5 miles outside Munich, where there was a hospital. They didn't have it inside in Munich because they were bombing. Say we had to pull a wagon. We pulled it from 8 o'clock one night till 3 o'clock in the morning. The guys, they were Russian guys, got killed. They worked in Munich too, and we took them to the hospital. It was an outdoor hospital out there. It was cold, it was freezing and everything, and they didn't care. And we worked from the morning to night. Sometimes I didn't sleep for 2 days. Sometimes I worked from morning to night, and the food was bad. There's all different kinds of stories. The guys that stayed in the prison, they got fed their meals. But when we were on work in detail, they didn't care about us. We were nobody. To the German soldier, a private was nobody. They only took care of the corporals and the lieutenants, and that, you know. And that's what happened over there. Then what happened, after all this thing there, we were shipped back, and now the war is coming to an end, right? So the officers were in Berlin. The guys got shot down and stuff like that. They moved them from Berlin to our camp. Now, it was overcrowded. I don't know how many thousands of guys were in there, Russians, all different nationalities. The Americans were together, the Russians were together, but we worked together because on details, they put us together to work. But what happened there, when we went to, working, it was getting near the end of the war, and so they shipped us out of there. Then we come to this farmhouse, and they put about 300 Americans there, And what happened? They knew the fighter planes came over and they changed the guards around, and we put POW on the roof, and the fighter planes would come over and they see where we were, and they would fly back and get, tell them where we were. And then a couple of days later, they used to have air raids, air alarms, and then they had the tank alarms. Then when we heard the tank alarms, we knew the tanks were coming. And then one day, about 20 tanks over the ridge. We were like in a valley. They came down, 20 tanks come down. They liberated us. And what they did was the bad guards, the first thing they asked us, who treated us bad? And the guys that treated us bad, the SS troops that guarded us, they took off and they gave us the regular soldiers. And they took care of us. So when they asked us who would treat us bad, none of these guys treated us bad. And what they did was they came in, everybody took all their clothes off. They gave us haircuts. They deliced us. They did everything. They gave us new clothes and everything like that. This here is things that they dropped down from airplanes, thousands of them. And these were for the German people to pick up the show. It's all in German, but on the bottom, it tells you in American what it's all about, that they would give you free conduct, they give you food and take care of you if you gave up. And that's what they did when the war was ending. Now we get into motorcycles with two Harley Davidson motorcycles, with a sidecar, and then we drove from Munich to Paris, France. It took us 6 days. Now, as we traveled, we had machine guns because the war was still on. We would stop at the farmhouse. Well, one guy would stay awake, the other three guys sleep, because you had to protect each other. You couldn't let everybody sleep, because you didn't know if there was Germans around or French people. So that's what we did. Then it took us 6 days. We got there on May 8th, the day the war ended. I got there in the afternoon, and the war ended. That's what happened there. And then we're going to come home. No, then I went to Paris. I stood there for 2 weeks. I can't say what happened in Paris because you can't say it. And so I stood there for 2 weeks, and I went to the doctor. The doctor said, you got to get out of here. So I got out of there, and we went to Le Havre, France, and then I had to leave there too, and that's when I came home. In Karlstadt, it's a small town, and in Karlstadt, 5 guys got killed, and 5 guys during the war got killed in the town. The guy, Tommy Mastrioni, he lived right next door to me. He passed away. He got killed. He was 22 years old, and he got killed in France. And then we had prisoners of war in the town of Karlstadt, a small little town. 8 guys were prisoners of war. 8 fellas in Karlstadt, and they were from all different places. One was in Pacific, one was shot down over Berlin, one shot down over Munich, one was in the Battle of the Bulge, one guy was in Africa, and then when they wrote this article about it, everybody was back except me. So I was the last one to come back. But all these guys got liberated before me, and they came home. When we came home, the government gave me 60 days at home. And what happened, when I was in prison, first of all, you're missing in action. And then what happened, my mother knew all about this, and it got her sick. And what happened, about 5 months later, the government said that I was a prisoner of war. Then my mother got relieved from that. But she said to the day, I'm going to raise chickens, because years ago, we didn't have no grass. We raised vegetables and chickens and stuff like that, and rabbits. So what happened, my mother said she's going to raise 60 chickens. So what happened, when I came home, my mother had the 60 chickens. But I didn't eat a chicken a day. Every day I had chicken. Chicken in the gravy, chicken fried, this and that. But when I was in prison, I went in when I was 160 pounds. When I came out, I was 130 pounds. But every day for 60 days, and before I got home, I was eating. But the chickens, I was eating every day. But I was in a town that was close. Everybody was friends. and you knew everybody in town. Well, we had a lot of friends. Me and my friend Funzi, he was a prisoner of war too. He's the only guy that's, out of all the 8 prisoners of war, me and Funzi are the only 2 guys that are left. All the guys passed away. But me and Funzi used to know a lot of guys, and they used to invite us over to the house. So we had it, sometimes we ate for breakfast, sometimes we went for lunch, sometimes we had the 3 of them. But we had to fill out the thing that every time somebody told us to come and eat, we said, okay. But then I went from 130 pounds like in May to like September. I went to Atlantic City. They gave us 2 weeks to Atlantic City. I went up to 219 pounds. I went from 130 pounds in a couple of months to think. But the reason why I would have been heavier, but when I was in prison, my stomach shrunk and I couldn't eat too much. But as I was eating, my stomach got bigger and bigger and I could eat more. So that's why. And then, then when we were home, my father, the town, we have a lot of people there. Now this is a picture of my brother. I got a brother, Sammy. He was there. He come back from the war. My brother Trip, he came back, and here I am here. Now, there's a guy in Navy, a couple other guys that were in service there, but these were the friends and neighbors in town that we had at Godella's place. We had a big party. The main reason I'm talking here, I talk to anybody, I go talk in schools and stuff like that, is for 2 things. One, Memorial Day is the most sacred day for me. It should be for everybody, because there was guys that gave their lives. People don't know what war is all about. And I believe that anybody that got killed in the war, they should be thinking of. The people don't even know any guys that got war. People don't even know nothing about this here. And you should remember the guys that got killed. And another thing, that you should remember the guys that are in hospitals with no arms and no legs. There was a guy in our town, Tommy knows him, he had 1 arm. From World War II, he lived for years and years with that 1 arm. And there's guys with no legs and everything like that. That's the guys we got to think of. Everybody goes, they go on holidays on Memorial Day, and a veteran. We're gone now, but the guys that are in service, anytime you see a guy in a uniform, not us guys, we're finished now, but the guys that fight for us, you should be thankful that you can ride in the car and go down to bagel shop and eat, go to A&P, eat whenever you want. When I was in the war there, I lost my freedom. And if you ever lost your freedom, you know what food is all about. So that's what I'm saying. Memorial Day is the most sacred day, and the guys that got wounded, you got to think about, and remember the guys that are fighting today. Because if it wasn't these guys, they don't tell you how many guys get killed today. They just say there's a little war. People don't even think there's a war. But there's the guys that are fighting for our country so we can have our freedom. That's it.